I know what some of you guys are already thinking. Underrated? Everyone talks about Kobe, and most people recognize his '06 season as the best year of his career. How could Johnny possibly be crazy enough to call this famous season underrated? Well, dear viewer, the literal definition of underrate is to underestimate the extent, value, or importance of someone or something. It doesn't mean that people don't know about it, or that they don't recognize it as something good. Essentially, it simply means it's better than you think. Many forms of media have done lists that rank the greatest individual seasons of all time. Bleacher Report did one. Let's check for '06 Kobe. Nope, not in the top 10, or even an honorable mention. I've checked a few other lists, and know that this is a common theme. It's one thing for me to just point out that Kobe doesn't make these lists, but to understand how preposterous that really is, we need to dig into the details of this season and evaluate how it compares to other great seasons of NBA history. In Kobe's '05-06 season, he averaged 35.4 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.8 steals on 45% shooting. I would say he led the Lakers, but that would be a massive understatement. He carried the Lakers to a 45-37 record, which was good enough for the 7th seed in the loaded Western Conference. It was incredible that they were able to win 45 games, considering Kobe famously played with a below-average supporting cast. He was first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, and finished 4th in MVP voting. That's right, all of that gets you just 4th place on the MVP leaderboard. More on that later. But first, let's get into even more details. Kobe's '06 campaign gave us 6 50-point games, 27 40-point games, his 81-point performance, which is the second greatest in NBA history, where he also scored 55 points in the second half alone, and just a month before that, he gave us 62 points in 3 quarters against the Dallas Mavericks. Through 3 quarters, Kobe outscored the entire Mavericks team 62-61. That wasn't just any Mavericks team either. This was an elite defensive team that also made it to the NBA Finals that season. No player in the history of the league has ever single-handedly outscored an entire team over the course of a game. If Kobe had simply played the 4th quarter, he would have had a legitimate shot at doing it. This '06 season was the 9th highest points per game season in NBA history. It made Kobe one of only 5 players to ever average over 35 points in a season. For this next point, we'll be excluding Wilt Chamberlain because he's pretty ridiculous. The only people ahead of Kobe other than Wilt on that list are Rick Barry in 1966 with an average of 35.6 points, James Harden in 2019 with 36.1, and Michael Jordan in 1987 with 37.1. Excluding Wilt, these were the greatest scoring seasons of all time, so these will be the years I'll be comparing with Kobe's '06 season. Despite the fact that Kobe is below those 3 wing players on this list, I'll argue that Kobe's season is clearly the most impressive from a scoring perspective. In the 66-67 season, Rick Barry averaged 35.6 points, and teams around the league were averaging 117.4 points per game. That means that Rick Barry averaged 30.3% of what was the league's team average. In 2019, Harden averaged 36.1 points, while teams were averaging 111.2 points. That's 32.4%. In 1987, Jordan averaged 37.1, and the league averaged 109.9. That's 33.7%. When Kobe put up 35.4 points per game, he did it during one of the lowest scoring seasons in NBA history, as teams were averaging only 97 points per game, which equals 36.5% for Kobe. In 2006, only 5 teams averaged more than 100 points a game, and Kobe's Lakers were not one of them. In James Harden's season, Rick Barry's season, and Michael Jordan's season, every single team in the league averaged over 103 points per game. If that doesn't get the point across, this definitely will. Statistically speaking, in Jordan and Harden's seasons, the worst offense in the entire league would be the second best offense in Kobe's season. In Rick Barry's season, the worst offense in the entire league would easily be the best offense in Kobe's season. Not only did Kobe average 35.5 points in 2006, but he did it at a time when it wasn't supposed to happen. There was significantly less offense, but Kobe was good enough to be the offense for his team, more so than any other player not named Wilt Chamberlain. On top of all of this, Kobe averaged only 3.1 turnovers that year, which is the fewest among this group we're comparing. We've talked a lot about how impressive these seasons were offensively, but consider this. Kobe was the only player out of this group to also make the All-Defense team the same season. Not only that, but Kobe made first team All-Defense, meaning that not only was he the best scorer that season, but he was also the best defender at his position as well. In fact, Kobe's the only player in NBA history to average over 35 points per game while being first team All-Defense. So in a quick recap, Kobe put up 35.4 points on 45% shooting, regardless of the fact that he was facing double teams all year with a below average supporting cast. He carried the offense, he was one of the best defenders in the league, and he drug his team to the playoffs even though they had no business being there. That is the definition of a valuable player. So the fact that Kobe only finished 4th in the most valuable player race is absurd. Instead, Steve Nash was that season's MVP. LeBron James was 2nd and Dirk Nowitzki was 3rd, even though the 4th placed Kobe seemed like he had the best season of the guys on this list. And I'll explain why this happened. There is a consistent formula to the NBA's MVP voting. There's 2 key aspects. 1, obviously, you have to have strong stats. And 2, you have to have a winning team. And when I say a winning team, I mean a winning team. In the last 30 years of the NBA, 29 out of those 30 seasons, the MVP winner came from a top 2 team in his conference. The only exception was Russell Westbrook in 2017, where he averaged his first triple-double and the NBA's first since 1962. Voters were so enamored with Westbrook's triple-double average that they were willing to overlook the MVP voting formula in that case. But in every other instance of the last 30 years, the MVP was only given to a player from a top 2 team. This is another major reason why Kobe's 06 season is underrated, because the formula is stupid, and he should have won MVP that year, or at the very least, should have finished higher than 4th place. The award isn't called the best player on an elite team. Either change the name of the award or start getting it right. The most valuable player, in a literal sense, isn't always on a top 2 team in the conference. Without Kobe, the Lakers would have been at the very bottom of the Western Conference. Why would you expect a guy who has Smush Parker, Kwame Brown, and Luke Walton in his starting lineup to win 60 games?
Kwame Brown, God bless him, is a scrub.
That's ridiculous and completely unrealistic, but that's basically the way it works when it comes to MVP voting. Let me know in the comments section if you think Kobe should have won MVP in 2006, and what are some other years that you think they may have got the MVP wrong. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.